How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, and the Loki series was absolutely fantastic. Not only did we get to see our Loki back in action, but we kind of got a new Loki, getting to see a new side of him, and then we were introduced to a lady Loki, Sylvie, and she was absolutely fantastic as well. Of course, the series introduced the TVA, which exists outside of time, which can be kind of confusing for a lot of people, which I totally understand, and a big question that everybody had about the Loki series is, when exactly does this take place? Where in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's timeline does the Loki series fall in comparison to Wandavision, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Avengers Endgame, etc.? After all, the TVA is responsible for going and arresting people who create branch timelines and Nexus events. So a big question that a lot of people actually have is, why didn't the TVA interfere with Wanda? Why didn't they interfere with the Avengers going back in time? Clearly they must have created some branch timelines, right? Well, now we have an explanation for both of these, as Marvel and Disney have come out and officially revealed where in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's timeline Loki takes place. And it may not actually be when you think it is. It's definitely not where I thought it was. But don't worry, we'll dive into it and talk about what exactly this means moving forward. And of course, if you want to stay up to date on all things relating to the MCU, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So if you go to Disney Plus's website right now and you click on the Marvel icon, it'll give you a bunch of different sections. There's a featured section that just shows most of their new stuff. There's an animated section. There is a Marvel Legacy section that shows the movies like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Then you have things like Marvel Phase 1, Marvel Phase 2, and Marvel Phase 3 and 4. And then you get to the section that says Marvel Cinematic Universe in timeline order, meaning the order that all of these movies take place in the timeline of the MCU, not in real life, but in the MCU. For example, the first movie is Captain America: The First Avenger, which takes place in 1942. The next movie is Captain Marvel, which takes place in 1995. Then we make a huge jump to Iron Man, which takes place in 2008. So it's the timeline order inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not the dates which they came out in real life. Because obviously we know that Iron Man was the first one to come out. So right now, as stated by Marvel and Disney, the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline order is Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 3, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America: Civil War, Black Widow, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and then Loki. Loki actually comes right after Avengers Endgame and before WandaVision. It goes Avengers Endgame, Loki, WandaVision, and then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Disney and Marvel say that WandaVision comes before the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but after Loki. And this could actually explain a lot, including how Wanda possibly heard her kids in the post-credit scene. And I have a big theory about that, which I'm about to talk about, but first let's talk about the Avengers going back in time and how the TVA never stepped in for them. Now, this was kind of explained during the Loki series, but I know some people didn't really get it, so I'll go ahead and explain further, especially since we saw the very last episode of Loki now. The first thing that you have to realize is that He Who Remains, the person in charge of the TVA and in charge of everything that happens essentially, had a plan, a very specific plan. And everything that he did and everything that he had the TVA do were all in line with that plan. And his plan was simply to get Loki from Avengers Endgame, who escaped with the Tesseract in 2012, and his female variant Sylvie. The plan was to get them to the Citadel. Get them to him. We learned that he wanted them to take his spot. He wanted the two of them to run the TVA together, erasing timelines like he did and like he set the TVA up to do. This is truthfully why the TVA grabbed Loki in 2012 when he escaped with the Tesseract, because He Who Remains wanted him. He explained in the Loki finale that every single thing that happened to Loki and Sylvie was simply He Who Remains setting everything up to bring them to him. So Loki was supposed to take the Tesseract and escape because Loki was supposed to fall into the hands of the TVA and eventually make his way to He Who Remains. The Avengers were supposed to do what they did because that all led to Loki being captured by the TVA. Also, since Captain America went back in time and put the Infinity Stones back, it seemingly didn't really create any huge Nexus event branch timelines. And if it did, I'm assuming the TVA actually took care of that and we just didn't see it on screen. The TVA did let some things fly, like Captain America going back in time and having a full life with Peggy Carter, but then again there is the theory that that actually didn't create a branch timeline and that Captain America was simply in the main MCU timeline the entire time. And when Captain America visits Peggy and she's looking at her kids, they're actually Steve's kids. Now, the writers and the directors seem to have a disagreement about this, but the writers did say that the whole entire time they did believe that Steve was Peggy's husband and the father of her kids. And if that is the case, that would be why no branch timeline was ever created from Steve going back in time and staying with Peggy. He was actually always supposed to do that. So really, what happened in 2012 with Loki escaping was supposed to happen because he was supposed to make his way to He Who Remains. And like He Who Remains said, he paved the path for them to get to him. Now ultimately, when they did get to him, he gave them two choices: take over the TVA or kill him and his evil variants would come. Millions of them, infinite amounts of them would come. Our Loki wanted to think about it, but Sylvie, who had been fighting her entire life to get to where she was so that she could kill whoever was in charge of the TVA, didn't really care. She just wanted her revenge and she took it. She killed He Who Remains, and then Kang came. Loki makes his way back to the TVA and there is a huge statue of Kang the Conqueror. And this has pretty big implications on the future of the MCU, including WandaVision, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, killing He Who Remains sent the multiverse back into play. There was just one sacred timeline, now there is a gigantic multiverse, and it definitely is in madness. And this could definitely explain why we never saw Doctor Strange in WandaVision. He clearly had a lot to deal with. Since Loki took place before WandaVision, more than likely Doctor Strange was trying to get a grasp on this Multiverse of Madness concept. However, Wanda might actually be the key to everything because it looks like she is a Nexus being. In Marvel Comics, Nexus beings are keystones of the multiverse and they're pretty crucial to its coherence and stability. And since our multiverse looks like it could use some stability, it looks like Wanda is going to be the key. However, Doctor Strange may find it problematic to try and recruit Wanda, as Wanda in the post-credit scene heard her kids. Now, Wanda created her kids out of magic. They aren't technically real. When Wanda released the town from her magic, the kids went away and disappeared. So how exactly did she hear them in the post-credit scene of WandaVision? Well, now that we know that Loki took place before WandaVision, this actually makes sense. There is more than likely a branch timeline where her kids are actually real. And these are the kids that she is hearing. She is searching the multiverse to try and find a reality where her children are real so she can go and take them back. So this seemingly answers that big question, because that was a huge cliffhanger for us. If her children aren't real, how did she hear them? Well, again, since it's the Multiverse of Madness and we saw just a ton of branch timelines created, there's probably one at least where her kids are indeed real. And now that she's got the Darkhold, she is definitely going to be going after them, which is something that we probably will see take place in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because since Wanda again is a Nexus being, Doctor Strange is definitely going to want her help, and that's probably why we're going to be seeing her again in Multiverse of Madness. It actually helps a lot that Marvel and Disney came out and listed the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline order for us. And now that we know that Loki takes place before WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a few things that we had questions about seem to make a lot more sense now. But let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Does this timeline order make sense to you, or do you think differently? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Don't forget to like the video, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.